Hi guys, it's my last day in Taiwan now, although this is probably going to be the first video you're going to see from the series because I wanted to share some first impressions of the place. You know, having lived in China for 13 years and then coming here, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts about some of the similarities and differences between the culture and the society. But, you know, please bear in mind that like 13 years in China versus 1 week in Taiwan, it's not really a fair comparison. So I'm not really going to be able to go too deep. It really is just first impressions in, you know, as to how it compares to China. I think honestly, the biggest difference for me is that the society and the people are very, very different in Taiwan compared to China. And I think the biggest thing that's stood out for me is that you're not regarded as a foreigner here. Like, you know, everywhere you go in China, you know, you're always called Lao Wai, right? People are, you know, you can speak even 1 or 2 words of Chinese, they're absolutely blown away. They're like, oh my God, the foreigner can speak Chinese. You know, they're, you know anything about China, they're just like so surprised, which is a positive thing, it's a nice thing, but it means that you could never really kind of like call China home, because you're always an outsider. Whereas here, it's people just sort of treat you as you're just another person. Like, even though you look different to them, they don't seem surprised that you speak Chinese. It just almost kind of seems expected that you speak Chinese here. And like, when you sort of, you know about the culture and things like that, people just don't really make a big deal about it. When I've been interviewing these masters and, you know, we talk about like, you know, similarities and differences with the styles and things like that, they're not sort of surprised that I know this stuff. And when I talk about places in China, and, you know, a lot of them have gone over to China and had sort of, what do you call it, like seeking the roots of their style. So they've gone over to the original like towns and villages, and they have a lot of like interactions with mainland Chinese masters and exchanges and stuff as well. And so when we're talking about, like, you know, places we've been or people we know in China, like, they're not sort of like, whoa, you're a foreigner and you know all this. To them, it's just kind of like, oh, you're a guy who loves martial arts, I'm a guy who loves martial arts, and, you know, we've both been to the same places and met the same people. So that's something that I really, really like. And I can see why a lot of expats would like to come, especially expats that are, you know, really into Chinese culture. I can see why they would like to come and live in Taipei and call Taipei home, because it is a place I think you can really be accepted. And especially, like, to give the example of Gis, you know, he's really into lion dance and he's really into folk religion, and he's part of the lion dance troupe, and you know, he does a lot of the temple festivities, and he's very involved in all of that. But nobody's ever surprised to see a white guy doing that here. It's, you know, I thought we were going to get a lot of attention when I'm filming him doing that stuff, but no, people just sort of accept it as you're a person and that's the thing that you're doing. Do you know what I mean? So that's something that's really, really nice. But what I do think is something that you can see here that you can't really see in China very much anymore is folk religion. You know, sort of folk Taoism it seems to be very popular here. There's all sorts of small temples all over Taipei, and, you know, unlike China, where the temples are more just sort of, I guess, a relic of the past, or a sort of, you know, like I guess you could say like a monument of history. Like, here it's actually kind of a living, breathing thing. Like, it really is a part of people's everyday life. You know, they really do, like, follow the beliefs and really, you know, integrate it into everyday life. Oh, and I think the final thing, kind of big difference, I think, between here and China is that people in Taiwan are just so polite. Like, really, really polite. And that's, you know, you don't get any of that sort of aggressive behavior or kind of, you know, rudeness, you know, that you get in China. Like, you know, you don't get people like spitting and smoking where they shouldn't and throwing rubbish everywhere. Like, people here are very, very civilized. I think there's a very high level of education here. That's something that I've really, really liked, and it's you know, been really refreshing. So that's pretty much my initial thoughts and impressions of Taiwan. As I say, I've only been here such a short time, so, just take that as my, personal view from what I've seen in the time I've been here. I'm sure there's a lot that I still haven't seen and experienced. But anyway, yeah, that's it. And my next stop on my way back to Australia is Macau. I'm going to spend a couple of days in Macau, somewhere I've always wanted to go and never been. So I'm just going to spend 2 days there to see what Macau's like, and then I'll be back home in Australia.